This is lesson 75 for Saxon Math Course 1. We're looking at writing fractions as decimals and percentages. So this is a lot easier than it sounds for the most part. Again, for some of these, when we come to them, if you want to use a calculator, that's fine. But for now, we can just get started with normal ones. So if you have 300ths, the nice thing about this is each percentage is a number over 100. So 300ths is written 3%. Because whatever you have over 100 is your percentage. Okay, whenever you see a percentage, that's actually what it's saying, is whatever that is the number you have over 100. Now, if you notice, I said 300ths. Okay, that's written like this, 300ths, which means all of these are connected. So 300ths is 3%. A little bit of a cheat for turning decimals into percentages is you take this decimal number and you are timesing it by 100. So which means because 100 has 2 zeros, I'm moving the decimal place twice to over here, and that is its new place. Now sometimes that means I need to put a 0 in to fill a blank place. In this case, it does not. So it is now, because I don't need this 0 here, 3%. Let's look at another one. If I have 3/10, what I want to do is I want to change this 10 into 100. Okay, I want to convert this into a fraction that has 100 as a denominator. How I do that is I times it. What do I times 10 by? I times it by 10. So 10 times 10 is 100. Now, because I did this to the denominator, I have to do it to the numerator. It's one of the rules. Do it to the bottom, do it to the top. So I times 3 by 10, which gives me 30. I now have 30 over 100, which means I have 30%. Now remember what I said earlier is all you have to do is times the decimal by 100. Well, if I wrote this as a decimal, it would be this. And again, because I'm timesing by 100, there's 2 zeros, 2 places, 1, 2, move it over, put a 0 in to make that cover that blank space I've just made, and you have 30. So you have 30%. Next one, if you have 15/30ths. Now this one might be a little bit different because you're saying, hey, wait a minute, I can't change 30 into 100. No, you can't. But if you notice, 15 is half of 30, which means 15 over 30 taken to its lowest terms is a half. And I can change that into 100, or I can just know that half of 100 is 50, which makes 50 over 100, because half of 100 is 50. So if all of these are equivalent fractions, that means this one is half, this one is half, this one is half. And because I have 50 over 100, that means I have 50%. And again, if you were looking at it in decimal ways, you can know that half, we've done these ones before, half is 5/10. That is what half is. And then you can take that and you can convert it into a percentage by timesing by 100 and getting 50. Two more. If you have 2 over 5, okay, what you're looking at is you have to make the bottom number into 100. Because this isn't a half, it's not a nice easy one I can do like that. So I need to figure out what I times 5 by to get 100. Well, if we remember our money, it takes 20 nickels to make 100 or make $1. So that means 25s make $1. If I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. 2 times 20, or 2 groups of 20, is 40, which gives me 40%. Last one I want to do, because it's actually part of your practice set, and it's one that it takes a little bit of a different way to do it, is it gives you 12 over 30. Now to change this into a percentage, you actually do what I do when I figure out test scores, which is you're going to take the numerator, divide it by the denominator, and times it by 100. So numerator by denominator, which means I have 12 divided by 30. Okay, 30 goes into 12 0 times. I now need to add a 0 on, but instead of just adding a 0, making this 120, I have to put a decimal, add a 0, which means I now bring the decimal up. 30 into 120. Well, 30 into 120 is 4, and it makes 120. Subtract equals 0, which means 12 30ths is 4 tenths. Now it's nice and simple, okay? Numerator divided by denominator is 4 tenths. 4 tenths times 100. I'm just taking that and I'm moving it over twice, put in my 0, gives me 40. So you have 40%. All right, that is lesson 75 for course 1, Saxon Math.